Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Untested podcast. We're back in the windowsill setting. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got a bit of good feedback from the last one, which was the friendship episode with my friend Poya, my best friend Poya. So thank you so much for the ones who tuned into that. That was a very, spur of the moment episode. Not really much planned, just talking from the tops of our heads and what was in our hearts, really. So I'd like to do some more like that because I did enjoy talking to someone else besides myself on the podcast. So it'd be cool to get more people on, and we will eventually, just when we expand. Today's topic is about the mental illness that can come from exercise, bodybuilding, social media, from all those things. Now, the main one being body dysmorphia. What is body dysmorphia? It is a body image issue that young men and women deal with, or not young, but anyone, any age deal with, but it's particularly those who start getting into like the lifting lifestyle. And why do we bring it up? It's because this generation of influencing and social media and marketing has all targeted the younger audience who are easy to influence and easy to mess with their minds. What do I mean by that? We've got influencers such as Tristan Lee, I believe is one of them. We've got Jesse James West. We've got the Max Taylor, the curly-headed bloke, and all this the new generation. Look, I've been around lifting for a good 10 to 12 years, and only in the last, say, 5 to 6 is where it's gotten even worse and worse to the point where more and more young people are getting body dysmorphic, and it's just obviously the saturation, the exposure to all these issues going on in the fitness community and all these people that they look up to, so to speak. And it's okay to look up to people because they do work hard, they make content, make informational stuff, they make entertainment stuff, they make motivational stuff, and that's fine. But the problem being the body dysmorphia. Now, where does that come from? Now, imagine you're one of these people who have 500,000 people watching them, following every move they make, listening to every word that comes out of their mouth. You have like almost a duty then. You have almost a responsibility to your viewers, to your fans, so to speak, to look a certain way and act a certain way. So a lot of them have to maintain this unrealistic physique, meaning how much muscle's on your body and the lack thereof body fat, which is very hard to do all year round. If you're an actual bodybuilder, like not natural, an actual bodybuilder, you can be natural too, you're not maintaining abs all year round, 12 months a year, 365 days, 24/7, because you actually have to go through phases. What do I mean by that? So, you got to keep your body fat up to a certain percentage for health reasons, for hormonal reasons. You can't be low body fat all year round. First of all, your sexual functions won't work, your sexual organs won't work, and then, such things like menstruation won't work for a female. So it's actually very unhealthy to keep up that low body fat percentage all year round. So those are just the physical disadvantages. But then there's also the mental ones. So with the body dysmorphia, people are trying to look a certain way and actually like punishing themselves mentally and punishing themselves physically because they're overworking themselves at the gym, they're eating very bland food, they're under-eating, and they're messing themselves up mentally for the sake of the likes, the views, the fans, etc. And like I said, this has to do with being like a lean body fat percentage. Now look, me myself, I'm not the leanest. I am very healthy right now. I'm actually very happy with my health and physique at the minute. I'm just going to fix my camera because it's about to pop out. I'm not the leanest I've ever been, but I'm actually the lightest I've been at this strength. So I'm actually very happy with how I'm going right now. But there are some people who want to maintain those six-pack abs all year round. And the problem with that, like I said, is all those physical and mental disadvantages and downfalls. Now, once upon a time, this is going back, probably 6, 7, maybe even 8 years ago, I did have abs in a six-pack. And I worked really, really hard. I dropped 24 kilos in 20 weeks. That was all done by purely diet and exercise. Like, it was the strictest diet ever. It was literally chicken and rice, broccoli, fish, rice, broccoli, water. That was my entire diet. 0 cheat meals for 20 weeks. That's 5 months. That's a long time. Very, very antisocial lifestyle. And besides that, I'd lifted weights 7 days a week and walked on a treadmill, probably the 7 as well, especially at the end, 7 days a week. So I was training 2-3 hours a day and eating basically nothing. And I did have six-pack abs and I was lean. But you know what? That was the most self-conscious I'd been in my life. Can you believe that? Before that, I was 20 odd kilos overweight. But I was more self-conscious being the leanest and fittest looking I've ever looked in my life. When I'd walk into a room in a social situation, the only thing I had that I believed I had of value was my body. So I'd literally rub my stomach and remind myself, hey, I have abs. But that is literally all I had. And because I had done nothing for 5 months, I had no value. I had no substance to myself. So I didn't have any good conversation. I didn't have anything interesting to say. Because when people ask me, what have you been doing? I've been exercising. I've been eating. Strict food. Been walking on a treadmill for half an hour every single night for 5 months. That is literally all I had going for me. I had no interests. I didn't even have a social life, to be honest, because my friends would just come to the gym too. So it wasn't like I was doing anything else but literally working, studying, training. And could you imagine that a 21-year-old being super self-conscious, being the fittest they've ever been and looked, but super self-conscious. Because in my head, I go, if I lose these abs, I've got nothing. That is not a good mindset to have, especially for a super young person. And that's what's happening to people younger and younger and younger, and that's what I'm talking about. That's because kids as young as 13... Forgive me, it fell off the tripod. Now again, it's technical difficulties, but I will fix that up on the video. 1 second. If you can hear me on the podcast, we're still going. I need to invest in a new tripod. And we're back. So forgive me, this tripod is pissing me off and I'll get a new one. Kids as young as 13, 14, 15 years old are going to the gym and they're looking up to these people. And the problem being, another problem being, more and more of them, and look, I'm no expert, I know nothing about this. I know people who've done this, but I'm not an expert and I've never done this myself. But more and more people are doing performance-enhancing drugs. Your steroids, your testosterone, your SARMs. And they could, and you know, from obviously a super young age, which you could be permanently causing organ damage, hormonal damage, developmental damage to yourselves for the sake of looking a certain way, especially at these young developmental years of your life. That is a problem. Could you imagine being 16 years old and doing these steroids and you'll mess up your reproductive system and then maybe you can't have kids one day? That is not where you want to be. Could you imagine you could literally go through bouts of depression because your hormones and everything inside your body is not aligned right. And you might have to be on antidepressants because you chose to do performance-enhancing drugs at a young age with no knowledge of dosages and your blood and how the rest of your health is. You could permanently damage yourself in terrible, terrible ways. All because of this body dysmorphia and this really unhealthy obsession with the body. It's a terrible, terrible disease, guys. Look, more of you would know more about, not more about, but are more aware of things such as anorexia and bulimia. Those are two big ones that more prominently, not always, but more prominently have been in females because of body image. You would think it'd be coming back now because of social media. You think it'd be growing, unfortunately, because of the comparison people make from each other's photos, videos, and whatnot. But now it's happening to men as well. They got the anorexia, they got the bulimia as well, but they've also got the body dysmorphia from lifting and wanting to look a certain way, like performance-wise. And then there's one that people really don't talk about, which is still an eating disorder and mental, but binge eating disorder. And that is one big problem for people, for example, who are overweight and have this binge eating disorder, people that are overweight and they diet for a certain amount of time and they restrict themselves, and then one day they just binge. And I'm not even joking, where I've heard stories of people literally eating 3 times what a normal human should eat in a binge. These are all crazy, crazy problems, all to do, not the binge eating one so much, but all to do with body image. Actually, the binge eating one can be body image, forgive me. Now, what am I trying to say? Why am I telling you this about mental health and body image? The problem being, we're setting unrealistic expectations for ourselves. These people that you're watching and you're admiring on the internet, like I said, a lot of them will be on performance-enhancing drugs. A lot of them don't have a full-time job or go to school. A lot of them literally dedicate their lives to making these videos, taking these photos for the gram, for the TikTok, for the YouTube, and they make money through their sponsors and through ads and whatnot and paid partnerships. But they're setting unrealistic expectations for these young people who are following them and going, I'm going to look like that because they did it in 6 months. No, you're not. Not even with perfect training and nutrition, you will not. Especially if you're on performance-enhancing drugs. They are so bad for you, especially at a young age. I have friends who are on performance-enhancing drugs. And people don't say, don't touch it till you're in your mid to late 20s. Because that's when your body's fully developed. Hormonal, organs, brain, etc. So why would a young person do it? Just to seek the approval of others, just to seek their own approval, which I probably won't get anyway. So you have to be so careful, guys. This is what you need to do. You need to stop following these kinds of people that create this negative mindset for yourself. You need to surround yourself with more positive and more educative influencers and people to follow on these social media, such as Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Because these are the people that can get you out of that hole. These are the people that can prevent you from falling down this rabbit hole that goes, my body is never going to look good enough. Because that is not true. Not good enough for who? That's the problem. A lot of them are very toxic, especially for the young, up-and-coming lifters and exercise fanatics of the new generation. So if you are one of those young people, be super, super careful who you follow, who you admire, who you learn from. Because it really could mess you up long term. That's all for tonight. This is episode 16. Thank you so much for listening.